Hodge. I'm the president of Hodge Media, a strategic communications firm. Today I'm going to be talking about media and how to help you tell your stories. Thank you, Rosie, for putting this on, and Gypsy, thank you for hosting in this wonderful, wonderful building. You know, when it comes to media, and I'm a recovering journalist, I spent 30 years in newspapers, including the Miami Herald. It's kind of the best of times and the worst of times. The large media organizations are suffering and have cut back considerably. But the flip side is, you know, it used to be if you couldn't get in the Miami Herald or on one of the local stations, you didn't have a lot of other options. Well, now you do, whether it's through your own social media platforms, whether it's through alternative digital organizations like Nootropic, Politico Florida, Florida Politics, Chartbeat on education issues, and that doesn't even begin to talk about your own social media platforms, your websites, your Facebooks, etc. So there are a lot more ways to get your story out. But I think, you know, when you think about, you know, pushing your agendas and trying to get attention in the media, the most important question that you want to ask yourself is, what audience are you trying to reach on any given story? Now, sometimes there are multiple, but, you know, given how fragmented media is these days, you know, you need to think about, are you mainly trying to reach politicians? Are you mainly trying to reach voters or educators, parents? Because each of those you want to talk to in a different way. You're not going to have a conversation about native language assessment in ESSA with a group of parents or a group of politicians who know nothing about the issue, the same way you're going to talk to educators and with all the jargon that I make Rosie translate for me and explain. And so you want to tailor your pitches to the organization. If you're going to go to the Miami Herald, you know, you want as broad and consumer-oriented an approach as you can. If you're going to a political newsletter, you know, you can get into the weeds on the policy issues and how Florida compares to other states. The best way to get a reporter or an editor to agree to your story is to convince them this is a perfect story for your audience. And then you figure out how to tell it. You know, as Anna was saying, you know, for some political officials and some policy folks, you certainly can talk at a 10,000-foot level. But for most people, for reporters, what really will make a compelling story is the way you would talk to a parent or a friend who knows nothing about the issue. You wouldn't say ESSA means blah, blah, blah. You would say, there's this, you know, there are kids who come here from Russia. They've been here 3 weeks and they're getting tested in a language that they don't understand. Bring it down home in a way that people can really connect emotionally to the story. At the end of the day, yes, there's policies and dollars and cents, but that emotional connection, the same way you would talk to lawmakers and get their attention, that's what you want to do. Now, once you've convinced the reporter or editor, well, you know, now what? Again, you want to know whether this is a reporter is a generalist or really understands the issues. You can go on their social media accounts. Look at the other stories they've written, whether it's on your issue or on other things. It will tell you an awful lot about the way they approach the story. You know, if everything is, you know, hard-hitting analysis, that's probably the way they want to talk to you about it. If everything is softer, anecdotal-based, people-based, that's the way they like to tell the story. So you want to feed it to them in that way. The best way to go into an interview is to know what you want to say and stick to it no matter what they ask you. Put together a bulleted list of what are the points that I want to make, that I want to see come out in the story. I mean, of course, don't ignore their questions. If they ask a question, answer it. But sometimes you can answer it with yes, but the most important issue here is, etc. And keep pivoting back to that. Keep your answers short. One thing reporters hate the most is people who speak in paragraphs, but they look at their notes at the end of the day and they're like, what's the pithy quote that I can pull out and put in my story? Which is what they want. You need to give it to them. And so in putting together your bullet points, you should also put together, here's some quotes and here's the way I want to say this in a way that reporters can actually use it. Remember that everything with a reporter is on the record. Where people always get in trouble is the interview is over and they're doing some banter and they say something sarcastic about a lawmaker or something, and the reporter is going to jump on that in an instant. So never let your guard totally down. Similar to what Anna said with lawmakers, don't guess, ever. If you get deep in the weeds and you're not 100% sure of the answer, it's just easy enough to say, hey, I need to double check a couple of things on this and I'll get back to you by the end of the day. And finally, if they get something wrong, which sometimes they do, don't panic. The great thing in the digital age is you call them, you tell them to fix it, and they usually will fix it immediately. Now, they're not going to change the tone of the story if you're not happy with that, but if there are factual errors, you can deal with that. And then having the story published is not the end of it. For all of you, that is the beginning. That is then how you extend that conversation on social media, on your email lists. How do you get everybody you know and their friends and their associates to take that story, take that message, and extend it out in ways that public officials and others are going to see it. Make it go viral in its own way, and that then will generate more publicity from other folks. And Jennifer says my time is up. So.